HarperCollins presents The District Nurses of Victory Walk by Annie Groves. Read by Alex Tregear. Chapter 1. June, 1939. "Are you sure this is the right way?" asked Edith, putting her hand to her head as the early summer breeze threatened to blow her nurse's hat into the dusty road. "Wasn't it meant to be 5 minutes from the bus stop? I bet we've walked for longer than that. My feet are killing me." Alice checked the piece of paper again. "I can't see where we could have gone wrong. Anyway, Edie, we haven't been walking for more than a few minutes. Don't take on so." She looked down at her colleague with good humour. Edith barely reached her shoulder. "Let's go to the next corner and see if we can spot it from there. If we see anyone, we can ask." Edith grimaced, but, left with little choice, gamely picked up her case once more and followed Alice, whose longer stride meant she was always slightly ahead. In her other hand she carried her precious nurse's bag. The rows of terraced houses they passed all looked the same, 3 stories high if you counted the big basements, with bay windows and steep stone steps, but narrow-fronted, built to fit a lot of people into a small space. They didn't have much in the way of front gardens, just an area where you could leave dustbins or reach the basement door. Still, Edith told herself, it wasn't as grim as the street she had grown up in, on the other side of the river in South London. This was bright in comparison. It wouldn't be too bad at all. Alice came to a sudden halt, and Edith nearly smacked into her. The taller young woman pointed at a street sign. "There we are! Victory Walk!" Edith looked up, pushing one of her stray dark curls out of her eyes. Try as she might, they would never do as she wanted, and she'd been in trouble with her previous matron because of that, and for numerous other reasons as well. So it is! Victory Walk. Suppose it was named after we won the Great War, though I bet the houses were built ages before that. Are we at this end? Alice looked at the houses on the corners. No, I don't think so. They said it was a bigger house and we'd know it straight away. Must be further along. Edith groaned as her shoulder protested at the weight of her case. Alice smiled in sympathy. "Buck up, Edie. Not far now." "Easy for you to say with your long legs," Edith grumbled, but picked up her case once more. "I'm sure it's further than 5 minutes." "It won't be. Not when we aren't carrying these great lumbering things," Alice pointed out. "We'll be on and off those buses in a jiffy. You can get to the West End as quickly as you like on your days off." She paused as they got to the other end of the short road. "Here we are. They were right. There's no mistaking it." Both young women set down their cases and nurses' bags and stood to take in the first sight of what would be their new home, and also the base for their work. It was in the style of the rest of the street, but felt grander, being double-fronted, standing a little taller than the buildings around it, and there were attic windows too. The sign above the immaculate front door left no room for doubt that they'd found what they were looking for. North Hackney Queen's Nurses Association. This was why they'd taken the bus to the east side of the city and then up Kingsland Road, with its busy mix of shops, cafes, factories and cinemas. This was where they would live for the foreseeable future, and from where they would go out into the local community as district nurses. Alice found she was tracing with her forefinger the shape of the Queen's Nurse badge that she wore on a cord around her neck. For a moment her nerve failed her. Would she be good enough? Would she live up to the trust of her tutors and the expectations of her patients? She'd trained for years, first as a general nurse in a hospital, then on the specialist course to become a district nurse, but there had always been someone else there to guide her. Now she would be out there, on the district as it was called, on her own, in her patients' houses rather than on wards, relying on her own skill and judgment to cope with whatever was thrown at her.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?